Welcome to Dress to Kill, your favorite fashion in action movie podcast. Today's episode is a watch-through of the movie You Only Live Twice from 1967. And we have a very special guest today, my very own mother, Dr. Linda Fickus. She watches a lot of these Bond movies with me when I prep for episodes and has such interesting anecdotes. So we've been wanting to have her on the podcast. As someone who lived through the 1960s, it was so insightful to get her take on this 1967 film. This is also one of the movies that Elma grew up watching with her mother, Akiko, and a big thank you to Akiko for sharing with us some of her notes on the film. We had some very strong opinions in this one. It was me. I had strong opinions, which led us to such a fascinating conversation, especially with the multi-generational insight. And we also had some very big laughs. The gadgets in this movie are chef's kiss. We think you'll really enjoy this one, and we'd really love to hear your opinions on this, especially since we had so many. Please share them with us on our Instagram at DressedToKillPod or on Twitter at DTKPOD. As usual, on our Instagram, you'll also find the images of the outfits we chose on this episode. As well as the Monday after this episode comes out, we'll have Keep and Kills on our Instagram stories, and you can go and vote on them and let us know what you thought of the outfits. And for a limited time, on Tuesdays, we are live on Instagram covering the 4th season of Killing Eve as the episodes release. So every Tuesday, we will be talking about the episode that released the previous Sunday. It has been so much fun. Thank you all who've come to watch and given us questions and just engaged. We love that show. We love talking to you. Did I mention the timing of this episode? It is Dr. Linda's birthday this coming Tuesday. Happy birthday, Dr. Linda. We both love you. I'm so grateful to you for my whole entire life. Thank you for being on our episode, and thank you for all of your wonderful insight. It was just fantastic. Okay, on to the episode. Enjoy! Hello, everyone. We have a special guest on the podcast that I must introduce everyone to. It is my very own Mama. It's Dr. Linda. Say hi, Mama.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, Dr. Linda. I'm so happy to have your mama join us today. I've known Dr. Linda. I've known Dr. Linda since I was a little girl. So she's basically my second mom.
Yeah. Oh, she even got to come to your wedding, which made her very happy.
I love these girls.
Oh, Mama. Yeah. Well, we decided to have Dr. Linda on the episode today because we wanted a little bit more insight from someone who would have from the culture of the time. Basically, she didn't see this movie that we're doing, You Only Live Twice, back when it came out, but obviously she was like alive and functioning in 1967. So we thought it would be nice to have her watch this and give us a bit of perspective of like what was actually going on, what it felt like. You were in Michigan at the time, right? Grand Rapids.
Yes.
So a perspective from an American girl, generally small town. Yeah.
How oldish would you
I would have been 14.
Oh, like in high school age. So like
8th grade.
Did you know about
we said 8th grade at the same time.
Jinx.
I only know that because when we were watching, I commented on a haircut, and she went on and on about how she had that haircut, and it was so cute. And I know that picture. The picture of that haircut is an 8th grade picture.
Oh, I'm curious which haircut then. I guess we'll get to it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't send a picture, but oh well, we'll talk it through.
Yeah, because this is 1967. Tell me, was your awareness of James Bond, or like what was your impression of James Bond at the time?
Well, I had seen Goldfinger. My dad took my brother and I to see Goldfinger. And my dad, who was an avid reader, had read all the Bond books. So I had an awareness of it. But more than that, not much.
Yeah. I see. Okay, cool. And wait, so you saw Goldfinger in the theaters?
What?
You saw Goldfinger in theaters?
Yes, in a theater. Yes, in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
how cool to have seen these when it came out. Is, I mean, the closest we can get right now is watching when they do the when they show it in the movie theaters at like when Alana, you and I went to see On Her Majesty's, and I love that. Okay, so let's get into this movie.
Okay.
1967, You Only Live Twice. It's directed by Lewis Gilbert, who has also done 2 other Bond movies, Moonraker and I forgot the other one. Help me. Listeners will tell us eventually. It'll come to me by the end of the episode. And then other movies that were famous or came out this year that I'm like have some sort of connection with: Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, Valley of the Dolls, and Belle de Jour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a year! A year for like sexual awakening in media.
Yeah. 1967. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did see Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
In theaters.
And The Graduate.
In theaters.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Very
The
cool,
Graduate.
yeah.
That's the only way to
Grade.
see it.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Wow, who am I in theaters?
Yeah. In theater.
I feel young in a bad way. You know, people go, I feel old. I want to be like, I feel young.
I feel I didn't know that. Yeah. And so first impressions, tell me, Alana, this is your first time seeing this, I assume, right?
Yeah,
So-
it was Mom and my both first time seeing this.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
I have a lot to say, and I want to try to acknowledge the things I loved, because I think this was in my opinion, the most like sexist and probably the most racist Bond movie in existence that I've seen yet. And it was a lot in that way. So I felt like,
yes,
like in other Bond movies, there are like sexist moments, and the moment is like such a short scene that you can almost cut that out of the rest of the film and it feels fine. But this movie, it's like the whole movie was about being sexist and racist. So it's not literally, but it feels that way. It's woven into every scene, every other line of dialogue, and it felt like it's really hard to separate that from the movie for me. Although in concept, like if the movie came out today, if it was rewritten for a modern audience and not so sexist and racist, very cool. So I can enjoy that, like the concept, you know, like what he's done, what the situation is, cool.
What they were trying to do with it.
Yeah. And like, I don't, again, like we always say on this podcast, I know that it was a different time and people weren't as conscious, and I like to hope that if people knew better, they would do better. However, to see it in a modern moment, I watched it so many times, I was just like, and that's why we are racist towards Asian women this way, and that's why we're thinking like this in this way, because Bond is a super influential character and movie, and like that coming out at the time, it reflected the time, but it also pushed for us to continue that mindset or not, right?
Yeah,
because it's a famous film.
It's what we talked about on this book club that I just did, covering You Only Live Twice. A lot of what other people learn about these exotic cultures to them is what is exotic, or like new cultures, comes from these movies or these books. So it's what impression they're leaving. But I'm sure we'll get so deep into it.
We will so get to it, and I want to hear so much from you, obviously, my Japanese angel.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what your mom said.
Yes.
You asked her what she thought too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was also really interesting to hear. Yeah.
Well,
okay, should we just
wait, Linda, Mama, what did you think? You don't have to take on my opinion. She's just sitting here quietly, like,
you can just say, yeah.
I'm waiting for you guys to invite me in. I don't know. So if you have a question, ask me. But
just first impressions.
I just enjoyed the adventure of it. Okay. I enjoyed. I want an underground volcanic layer of my own. Yes. How could life be complete without that? And there were a lot of interesting things about it that I did like. You know, just the fun of it, just the adventure of it.
Yes, totally.
I don't know.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Okay, so another thing is, so Alana is talking about the sexist nature, which, yes, from today's eyes is quite obvious, but, at that time, the very strong male energy was a stabilizer. You know, when you think of the world powers,
Interesting.
the year after Kennedy is shot, the Vietnam protests, they wanted a strong male stabilizing influence. They wanted a strong, you know,
Wow.
trust in that strong male influence. And I think that that had to have been part of the assignment in making this movie and having the populace have that strong male energy.
Or at least just like the emotional perspective. Like in art, you recognize what people want and you make something to cater to it if you want it to do well. So if that's what people were somewhat craving or what seemed like it would help fill a void, then that would be a thing to produce. That's really, really interesting. I had not thought of it that way.
It is, yeah, exactly. I can see that, like, under control. We got that strong, like you said.
Absolutely. They wanted to put that out. Trust us. We know what we're doing. You're safe.
Yeah.
And, you know, people at that time were panicked about the bomb. You know, Russia has nukes.
Yeah.
I had classmates that were just suicidal with panic about the nukes of, you know, that maybe we're going to get nuked, maybe we're not going to get nuked, who's going to do it first? And it was a really big underlying thing. So to have have this, yes, we're in charge and we're doing a great job and we can do it and it always works out perfectly and trust us. That was a really big energy to put out.
Wow.
This is so interesting because I come at this looking at this movie from such a different perspective from both of you.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Wow,
three different, strong difference.
Yes. So my first experience with watching this movie, it was one of the ones that one of the few Bond movies that we rewatched often in the house because it was the Japanese one. You know, you get to see the Japanese women wearing kimonos and like celebrating the culture. And there's all these little things that I loved about it that was like heightened Japanese culture. And also, you know, obviously looking at it now, I was really little, but yeah, there's still things that, when I watch it with my family, the comments were made like, oh, that's not cool. And that's, whatever, those things. But but there was so much fun little things for me to enjoy from this movie. And so I held on to a lot of that. And, you know, after watching it so many times now, you look at it with different colored glasses and it becomes, And also having read the book, it's like, wow, they really, you know, the parts that they really try to focus on and highlight showed from the book to the movie. And it's like, I see what they're doing. Could have, like you were saying, Alana, could have been done better. But overall, I still really love this movie. Yeah. And we'll talk about it.
Wow. I am just ready for this conversation.
Yes. Okay.
Should we get into looks?
The outfits, and then we'll just talk as we go. Yeah.
Okay. Who thinks theirs is first? I don't. I think mine is later, chronologically.
Oh.
Mine isn't so early.
Mine is not early either.
Okay, whatever. Let's just
Lou, why don't you
start? Be a little bit out of order.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
One of my favorite pieces of clothing in like the whole franchise, aesthetic wise, like I think just not necessarily that I would keep it, but I think as like a visual on the screen is Aki's blue dress when she's at the sumo match.
Yes, iconic.
That pale blue, yes, iconic. And it's just a simple sheath dress and with like a sheer layer on top.
Yeah, are those
it's very
panels? What would you call that?
Yeah, because it's not quite a cape, right? Like it's not connected.
And I think there's one on the back and
panels,
on the front. It's like a blue dress with, like, you know, when you cut a hole in like a
like a square.
Okay, nobody. I just realized everyone's gonna be like, no, I don't know that because I've never done it. I'm the weirdest person. But if you have a fabric like shaped like a yoga mat, like long and thin, you cut a hole in the middle and just put it over your. It's that type
which
of
is basically
cape,
a poncho
like sheer,
shape, but
a sheer poncho, no arms.
No arms, yeah. Sleeveless poncho. Sheer poncho, no arms.
If anyone has actually done that besides me, please go ahead and let us know.
Tell us.
Tell me I'm not alone.
I really like that one too. It was so elegant and clean. You know, all this, you know, intrigue and you know, dirty city streets. You know, and then she has this beautiful, clean, fresh look that really is such a nod to Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah, this whole movie, I feel like.
Yes, that's
Jackie
true.
Kennedy nods throughout.
Oh, you're right. Oleg Cassini style a little bit. That very simple. It's all about like
simple,
the
elegant
textile and the clean shapes.
And you really have those
not
like
a lot of
60s
fullness and seaming
shapes.
60s, yes.
Which is just like I feel like 60s was just about shapes. Like you just have like hard shapes often in the 60s and
that's
straight
true.
colors
Geometric.
too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, I love that one. And I love the little hood she did with it too. Even though her hair is so big, once she puts that the fabric over her head, it's like, oh, that's an
really
alien. Very much. But I still love
it's like
it.
the Fifth Element alien lady.
Yeah.
Yes. That's my first. Gorgeous.
Love it. Mom, why don't you do your first next?
See, I had trouble with okay, so I also like that blue.
Was that your
dress.
first?
Yes.
Yes, I can see. Okay, I'm not reading your others, but that was her first.
Yeah. Okay, cute.
Don't look.
No, that's good. That's good. If that was your first, we got it. We got it. Wait, don't say the rest yet. Okay, now I'll do my first.
Okay.
My first, I think, chronologically, is going to be... There were a lot of dresses I liked. It wasn't an overwhelming amount, but there were like just enough that if we were doing a solo episode with just you and I, Elu, so we did 4 or 5 looks each, I would have been set. But anyway, that being said, I narrowed it to 3.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay.
Okay, so my first look is Mrs. Grant's flight suit. So her name's Mrs. Grant, right?
Cute. Helga Brandt.
Brandt with a B? Shoot.
Brand.
Even the subtitles may
Brand.
have got it wrong.
Helga Brand, maybe.
Brand? I thought it was Grant. I thought they said Mrs. Grant. Okay. Well, that's
Helga
great
Brand.
for me.
Helga Brand.
Anyway, the white girl, the
aviator
white Bond
uniform.
girl.
Yes.
Yeah, with the red hair.
Yeah.
Her flight suit. Where she has the lipstick
She's
gadget.
gorgeous.
And the second she was
know.
putting on lipstick, I was like, oh, that's about to be a gadget. I'm so excited.
Yes, good gadgets. Really good gadgets.
This movie had fantastic gadgets.
Right? Yes.
And there's like an
And
Asian
that's what's
Q
so fun.
too.
Yes, like the Asian Q scene, and I love the women in the streets trailing Bond with their walkie-talkie purses.
Yes.
Oh,
For
yeah,
some
those were
reason,
great.
yes,
Those would be handy.
I love that you guys love it too.
Oh my
Because
God.
when I was a kid, that was a talking point. Like, oh, I want to have those walkie-talkie. You know, before we had cell phones and walkie-talkies was the way you talk to someone far away, but in the same house.
Yeah.
As you.
I
I wanted those.
This might be my favorite gadget movie yet. Like there were so many good gadgets in this. I can't emphasize enough. And hilarious ones that are just like weird and wouldn't work, and then ones that really would work that you just want. Just so many. I love that.
Yes.
Let me describe the flight suit a
so
little. I just
her
realized I
outfit.
didn't describe it all. Yeah. She's wearing a jumpsuit. It's like a brown green, you know, like army green but brown, but army green by a tint. Yeah, like a dark khaki. And it's a jumpsuit. It has a little belt detail where it snaps together and it has seams that make it look like it has a belt over it, but I think it's just a part of the jumpsuit. From what I can tell, these are 1960s photos I'm looking at. And it's long sleeved. It has a little bit of a collar, and she's wearing a knit, like a softly yellow knit turtleneck underneath, and the turtleneck has gold in it, like in the fabric. So it has a little bit of a sparkle, which I didn't notice until I saw those pictures, the ones I sent. You can see, and there's a photo from set where there's like sparkly gold in there a little bit. It's like a
I love that. It's like
so cute.
Lyrex metallic thread.
Yes,
very
exactly.
cute, very cute.
And I actually have a yellow mock neck top with some of that like glitter strands inside of it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm her. Made me excited.
You know, I wonder if that's true.
What's true?
I never saw glitter ever in clothing in that era. And I'm just wondering if it was some synthetic fabric that caught the light a funny way.
I'm not suggesting glitter. I'm suggesting, when they knit into a clothing.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. Like a sparkle knit.
Right.
It's like golden thread, but I don't know actually when that came about either. Yeah.
I never saw that.
That's interesting.
What do I know?
Yeah.
I'm unable to zoom in
But
on
they
this.
did use so many weird polyesters and nylons and weird synthetics in that era. It was the cool thing to have,
But look
these
at
are the
this.
latest fabrics.
This is definitely sparkle
Yeah,
sewn
you're
in.
right.
Yeah.
It does seem to look sparkly.
I'm certainly not the fashion material expert on this podcast, but there's
maybe.
something
Probably
knit
wasn't
in.
just so commercial.
Yeah, I bet it was really hard to get, for sure.
A little bit fancy.
Because that's something we always
But
take
I
for
love-
granted. We see these older movies, how hard to get some of these materials would have been.
Yeah.
Also-
I love this outfit.
Oh, good.
So
I knew
cute
you
on
would.
her.
I'm glad. Also, though, her goggles, she pulls down her goggles, and most airplane goggles are like massive at the time. She pulls them down, and they have the eye part, but then there's like a thing to just like block her forehead that makes it seem like they really probably don't suction to the face very well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes them seem very
Yeah,
costumey.
I think they would
and
fly
not-
off.
Yeah, they would just. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but
She's
whatever.
skydiving. Yeah.
She's skydiving. It's fine.
Fashion goggles.
Fashion goggles. Also, I think it's because probably the person who was jumped out there probably had to wear a helmet or something. So they were like, "Oh, we'll make it look like that from the front."
Yeah. I'm sure it's something like that. They do that often in these movies.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he had to put a helmet on, so let's fix the costume
Let's just add it
to
in.
match it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, her makeup is impeccable every time. Ugh.
I know. The hair and makeup. She's like that perfect 1960s cat eye
Yes.
hair.
And the
You know,
flip,
look,
the hair
yeah.
flip.
Oh,
That was
flip,
very
yes.
crucial in that era.
course.
Very popular.
Oh, and I like that there's a little detail on the collar and the flaps on their two pockets up by her like boobies. There's the flaps and the collar are a
Yes, like-
lighter color.
It's like I think it looks like the suede to match the goggles, which is even
Yes.
cooler.
Pure.
It's like matching goggle, matching custom jumpsuit and everything.
We love
I
it.
love it.
Love, love,
Yeah.
love.
Gorgeous.
Okay,
Yay!
that's my
Okay,
number
I'm
one.
happy. That was
Yeah.
an honorable mention for me, so
Oh,
I'm happy you brought that up.
good. Cool. What's your
Okay,
two?
my
Evie?
second is another Helga Brand look, and it's, I wonder if you can guess, it's her orange top and like cream colored skirt.
I'm glad you bumped it.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Oh my God, twins!
Yay! Oh, look, we have the same taste.
You have such
Yes.
good taste.
Okay. You too. Tell me what you liked about this outfit, Linda.
Oh, it was just nicely tailored. It fit her so well, and I love the color. Just love the color.
I know.
I love the color.
And, the nice belt with it. It was just very clean, classy.
I love that color. I completely agree on the color.
Yeah. Me too. I think it's bold also though. Like it's professional but looks bold and fun. Like
Great
it's
with
still,
her hair.
Yeah. It really
Oh,
shows her
looks so great with
personality.
her hair.
She really does dress boldly throughout. Like those are hard and bright colors. Those
You're
are hard
right.
and bright. Like full sequin dress. Come on.
Yeah.
Those are
yeah,
bold
you're right.
choices.
I really love her wardrobe actually.
Me too.
Through the whole movie. Yeah, I think I liked everything she wore pretty much. Yeah. Yes, I love that outfit. I think we brought up a good point, the tailoring. This was a time when, woven fabric, like stretch fabrics weren't super popular yet, except in
Ooh,
knitwear,
yeah.
but that was much more casual. So
Mom, did you get stretch
yeah,
fabrics
exactly.
at all?
No. Did not.
No. That's a hard no.
None of them.
Did you have stretchy panties or?
Even my bathing suit was like a cotton, there was no stretch
Stitch.
to it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it just like, did it billow off of you? Did it stay on?
Bit.
A bit?
Well, it stayed on, but
Wow. Wow.
Bit, and you just kind of dealt with it, huh? Yeah, I always wondered about those swimsuits from back in the day because, they look like they're made out of canvasy, not stretched materials.
Right.
And
is it like a
when
canvas?
you get out of the...
Yeah, with a underlying layer of a cotton panty kind of thing, and then a high waist. Okay. Somewhat stiff cotton material. Yeah.
Wow. Lou, what were you saying?
Interesting.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. No, I was wondering, like, when you get out of the water, are you just like holding so much water in your clothes, in your swimwear? Like,
yeah. What is it like?
Well, I don't remember that.
It must feel weird.
No, I think it was tailored enough, that there was a zipper.
There was a zipper
in the back of the bottom. It was called a two-piece.
Wait, what? Two-piece?
Yeah, before that, swimsuits always were one piece. So this was a new thing that just came out, For me, it was only available in stores in, 66, 67. So I remember going shopping for a two-piece, and it was this whole big thing because it hadn't existed before.
Wow.
But yeah, it actually was zipped up, and it was very form-fitting, and the top was...
So the bottom would be high-waisted.
Oh, yes, very much.
Oh, my God, Lou, this is why it was so significant that white two-piece, the iconic white two-piece in the other James Bond movie was low-rised with those scrunches, because that would have been so impossible.
Ahead of its time,
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
and what was the top like? Were they always bra-like? Like, did they always
Yes.
have underwire
Like
and
structure?
everything?
Yeah.
Yes, it was structured, yes. I don't remember how it fastened, but it wasn't a bra fasten, but it was, I don't know, something very secure. So it would not come off in the water.
Was it very revealing?
That's so funny.
No, not at all.
Easy answer.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my God. Wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves though, because the bikini comes
Okay,
later.
yeah, we covered both our number twos were
Oh yeah,
Helga
so it's my number
Brandt's
two.
orange and skirt.
My number two is, this is kind of a throw out there, but I do really love it. It's Helga Brandt's.
Okay.
Now that I know her name is Helga Brandt, red, her lady alternative to the red jumpsuits all the workers wore. I thought it was so cute, even though I can't see the bottom of it, so I don't really know how long it is, and that can change the vibe. However, the top half is so cute.
I think it's cute. It's probably like her other skirt, kind of the standard pencil length, but very cute.
probably.
I love that outfit. Good choice. It caught my eye too. This time I looked at the details more closely. Like, I didn't notice. It basically looks like a shirt that she belts.
Yeah, like a button-down shirt.
Yeah, exactly. The sleeves still have the cuffs. I thought it was a jacket and a skirt at first. Like,
yeah, so did
until
I.
this viewing.
I still do think it's a jacket and a skirt. Is it wrong? They didn't show it very well on screen.
Yeah, they didn't.
So a little bit of guesswork.
But just because of the detail on the cuffs for that one, I would say it feels like a shirt more than a jacket.
It looks that way. Yeah, the more I look at it,
it still looks tailored. Yeah,
and it looks
tailored.
It looks so good. It looks like it's longer. With the belt obviously at the waist, but like maybe the shirt goes to the hip or something, and there's a skirt of some sort under it, and maybe some kind of pocket detail. There's something going on, but it looks great. I think
it does. The color again, amazing on her, and I love
the color.
The use. I actually really just love the colors of this movie. I think it's maybe that mod 60s era where those color blocking and the colors were really important, and like Technicolor and all that. So I love how her red against the yellow of like the other workers and the red of the other workers, and then the blue on the sky on the ceiling of the volcano layer dome. It's just like red, yellow, and blue, and it visually looks fantastic.
You make a really good point when you say Technicolor, because Mom, when did movies start being in color? I mean, this one came out in color, I'm assuming. Although there are loads of black and white set pictures.
No, it had been, I think, probably 10 years of color TV.
Really?
When did color TV
This movie
come out?
seems like it's about
I think
color.
I was... Well,
color movies, not color TV, because they would have different...
color movies.
Well, we don't know.
Early 60s? I don't know.
No, it had been
50s.
out for a little while.
A little earlier.
Okay, I'm guessing wrong.
Okay.
Because they use a lot of colors that are really hard to photograph in black and white. Like the hue of this red, like the shade of red that she's wearing for this suit, would definitely not come across feeling like red if it were black and white. And they take advantage of that a bunch in this. So I guess in my mind, I'm like, if this was a recent color film, I would get why they chose those colors. But maybe it's just the 60s enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on this
Still
look,
enjoying it.
Mama?
Yeah, no, I like it. I don't know. Well, I like that it's a feminine version of what the guys are wearing. That seems, utilitarian, but I don't know. I mean,
perfect.
I wonder why they were wearing red.
Communism.
Yeah, communism was my thought.
Because that was the evil color.
Right. But these guys weren't communists.
But they were evil.
But they were evil. Okay.
Because evil color.
Because they had red, yellow, and white were the colors of the worker people, the jumpsuit worker peoples, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Everyone's always doing McDonald's colors in James Bond movies, constantly. But my guess is
evil clowns.
I don't understand.
At first I was like, red and yellow are both more Asian colors usually. If you have to have a hard color for Japan, red is it because of the Japan flag in my mind.
The fat flag, same with China and Japan. I mean, China's red and yellow.
China does a lot of red. Yeah, and they both use red and yellow,
gold,
at least more than the U.S. did at the beginning of this stuff. Like, our stuff is all more blue-red, right? So I don't know. Part of me was thinking, is it meant to be an Asian thing? Or is it just McDonald's?
I think it's just McDonald's. Because the villain in this, he's putting the countries up against each other. I mean, his base is in Japan, but he's trying to put up Russia and the U.S. against each other. And he seems more I don't know, less tied to geographic or political.
Right.
Totally.
I mean,
so, maybe it's just red for blood. And
a global mastermind.
Yeah, it could be red for blood and yellow for mustard.
Ketchup and mustard.
It's just the ketchup and mustard vibe. It's just those colors really say evil to me. Just kidding.
No, she's got red.
I love the
She
colors.
says, "Don't mess with me. I'm wearing red." She's a toughie.
Also,
she's confident.
Also, true.
We love a toughie. I love her.
I know. Yes, I love her also.
Great.
Is it my number 3?
Mom, your 2 was the same? Yeah, okay, it's your number 3, Lou.
Okay. So my number 3, and this was hard because I have a lot of honorable mentions, but I definitely felt like I wanted to pick, just because there's a lot of them in this movie and you only get them in this movie, basically, a kimono. So
oh, good. I was hoping you would.
Yeah. Did I send you a picture? Aki's blue kimono that she wears when...
No, the peacock colors.
What? Peacock? What?
Yeah, look, peacock feather.
Color. It's like a pale
Those are
blue.
peacock feathers?
Oh,
well,
feathers.
They look like leaves
That's what
to me.
I thought they was.
Listen, we can all...
Oh, yes.
None of us know, so just give us your guesses.
Elma, I have to tell you,
but
that's
it
my
does-
number 3 also.
Oh my gosh.
Damn. You guys are aligned.
Aligned. Yay. Yes, I loved that one. So I liked this one. First of all, kimonos are all about the print. Every kimono is cut the same way, basically. I mean, you can have a little bit of variation in the sleeves, but the purpose and the way that the cloth is made, it's in the same shape. So it's all about the print. This one I loved. It's those primary colors of blue and red, and she has the white. But I love the color on her. She looks fantastic, and just compared to all the other ones, this is more my vibe, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I like that one.
Being able to see it in a photograph is it's so much easier to admire the details. Yeah, I kept seeing that with the kimonos where I was like, are you going to give us a real showing off of one of these, or are they just going to be constantly the in-between scenes where we're moving between two places or whatever? And they never really gave us a good moment with it, but I was hoping you would pick one because of that. Oh, gorgeous.
Yes, yeah, they don't, yeah, exactly, give us a good moment with it. You're right. But culturally at the time, I mean, even now, people still wear kimonos walking around, but it's more, I think back then a little bit more, but right, like from my experience nowadays, it's when you're going to more ceremonial events or just an occasion that's a little bit more fancy than going to your friend's house to hang out, but like it can be like birthdays or definitely you can to weddings, yes, any formal events, but even like if there's like I would say even a little bit more casual than a wedding, you can still wear something like this, and it's culturally appropriate. So you do see it a lot. And you're talking about
in Japan, just to be clear.
In Japan, yes, exactly.
Very cool.
But also at the time, 60s, a lot of the fashion was mirroring what you see in the West, with definitely following Jackie Kennedy vibes of like A-line skirts and sheath dresses and good tailoring and yeah.
Yes.
So I was gonna ask what she thought. Yeah.
Oh, she will say.
It's so graceful. Yeah. It's so beautiful. She's like floating. She's a goddess. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
We love it.
It is. Yeah, cute.
It's interesting
graceful,
to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, so graceful. That the colors, we were talking about the colors of the 60s, and being that this is 67, like I'm getting a sharper understanding of, when I think 60s colors, I think closer to like a little earlier in the 60s, where really stronger colors in blocks, like either blocks on an outfit or just the outfit will be one color, right? Like I think of like just stronger colors in that way. But as we get toward the end of the 60s, we start having these like softer baby colors coming in, like baby pink, baby blue, these like soft as well as the hard colors. And then I think when it comes
like
to
the desaturated,
exactly, we soften in this very Jackie Kennedy way. And I think when we get to the 70s, we still see a lot of those softer colors. We see harder colors or stronger colors coming in other ways, but we still have a trend of those softer colors, like James Bond's baby blue suit, for example, denim. is a very 70s look, and that's definitely a baby blue. But it's interesting, I hadn't thought about like the movement of color through the ages as sharply until I saw this film.
Yeah, that's interesting, because 70s I imagine is a little bit more earthy, like lots of browns and greens and just earthier colors, whereas the decade before felt more like pop colors. But I don't know, Linda probably has some accurate impressions.
No, I think there were a lot of bright colors in the 70s, early 70s, definitely, because that's when we started getting all kinds of Indian imprints from India. So you would have this bright pink. We didn't really have much bright pink before that.
You just didn't have bright pink before that. Oh my God.
No.
That's such a thing to consider.
Bright turquoise or bright... Yeah, so the Indian thing was so popular because it was inexpensive and kind of a hippie thing, and
Wow.
That's interesting.
When I think about the colors in the 70s, I feel like that's the first decade we come to where I don't feel like there's a certain color palette that dominates the decade. I feel like multiple different types of color palettes are going simultaneously, and the reason my mind, the reason I think that's happening is because we start to have more mass production of clothing, so they become more accessible. You can buy more, they're cheaper than they were prior to that. And I think that's why it seems like multiple styles, quote unquote, are being produced, as opposed to like in the 60s, you don't always have to dress in like the style of the 60s, obviously, if you're alive then, but there is kind of like one style, at least one style that evolves throughout the 10 years of the decade. Versus 70s, 80s, 90s, I feel like we'd suddenly branch into, you could be the jock in this, or you could be the nerdy person in this, or you could be the fashionista in this, and like suddenly personalities with all different types of looks come out. Is that really inaccurate?
Yeah, to some degree, but I want to tell you, there were not millions of places to shop in the 60s or 70s.
I believe
and
you.
And so, pretty much you had a choice of this department store or that department store.
Sears? Pre-Sears?
Wurzburgs or Herpersheimers.
Herpersheimers?
Herpelscheimers.
Yes.
Herpelscheimers.
Oh my god, that would sound like a joke to me. I would have assumed that was a joke if I saw it in a movie.
It ended up in a movie.
Oh, did it?
It was some Santa movie that originated out of Grand Rapids. But
what about Woolworths?
yeah,
All of
was
these
there,
why
but they
are-
didn't have clothes.
Why are these department stores the hardest things to pronounce ever? These are the hardest names I've ever pronounced.
Woolworths.
Well, it was a very German town at that time. All German.
Town?
Yeah, Grand Rapids was a lot
Okay,
of
but we're
German.
talking about the U.S. broadly as well, right? Or you don't know?
That was strictly a local department store, but it
Woolworths.
was the big one.
Oh, we're
Herpelscheimers.
Herpelscheimers.
Herpelsheimer.
But Herpelscheimers only brought in certain styles and certain
course.
colors.
I mean, not to put down the Grand Rapids experience, but I would assume that. I would assume any town that isn't like Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, maybe Seattle, like any town that's not those, maybe Dallas or something is in that list. Those areas, I would assume, would have access to more clothes than like, I feel like you go 15 miles outside of any of those cities and your options go down like 45%. They go down like 80% another 5 miles. And then it's like, do you have a sewing machine?
No
Because that's your
malls.
option.
Yeah, it was no malls. There was the department store, period. That was it.
The department store. Did you go to the
Right.
department stores?
Yeah.
Of course.
And what'd you do? Would you go when you were little and your mom
all
would go
about
shopping?
Oh, yeah.
And what would you do as a kid?
Oh, like they'd have a little train at Christmas time, and
Oh my
they had great. They had soft serve. It was one of the only places you could get soft serve
Oh
ice
my
cream that
gosh.
existed. It was at their little food bar,
treat.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
and
Painting such an image for us.
Mom would
I know,
always
yeah.
get chocolate covered peanuts. That was her favorite. And, you know, it wasn't something you could just run out and buy anywhere. You had to make a special trip to get these things because they didn't have them, you know, at the grocery store.
Wow.
So
Oh,
it was
funny,
very
yeah.
limited shopping.
Wow. Well, Whole Foods has just kicked that out of the water. Well, you guys both said your
That's so
threes.
fun.
Should I say my three?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My third lick is the white bikini.
Oh.
Bing, bang, boom.
Cute.
Except I
Okay.
want to claim the full look and have her like pearl diver striped thing on top as well. Just because why not? It's all one
The
look.
tunic.
Yeah.
Sure. Cute.
Yes. Let's
I
discuss.
like it. Yeah. That's Island Girl vibes.
Island Girl
with
vibes,
Even the
yes.
tunic cover up too.
And it's so classic
that part.
Bond.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing this movie, I recognize the iconicness of the white bikini. I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is the Bond thing. And they all wear a very similar low-cut white bikini. In the beginning, at least.
Yeah.
Early Bond.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It is definitely taking after that Dr. No Ursula Anders bikini. Okay, so let my mom chime in from here.
Yes!
She was like,
Oh, by the way, we wish we could have her on the pod. It just didn't work out.
I
But
know.
we will have her notes.
yeah, exactly. I have her notes. So she was saying when she saw that, she was older when she saw it, but she must have seen it when she was like she didn't see it when it first came out. She was, I think, in middle school or so.
Well, probably around the same age.
But
both
she
of
had
them.
seen. That's true, actually. Yeah. But she said she remembers seeing it on TV because they would do like replays of
Yeah.
the Japanese dubbed version.
Oh, wait. Did she see it in Japan or in the U.S.?
Yes,
Japan.
in Japan. Yes,
Ooh,
let's clarify
tell
that. Yeah, so she
us.
was in Japan, in Yokohama, in 1967 with her sister and my grandma and her dad. My grandpa was in the Navy at the time, so he was coming and going all the time. So she said she was watching this on TV, and she's like, it's so some of the inaccuracies are funny, you know. It's just that's so funny, like it's so glamorized for Hollywood. So this was one of the things that she was saying, the white bikini. She's like, there's no way these ama divers, the female pearl divers, the ama ladies are wearing bikinis. Like,
Dude,
bikinis were rare. Like,
that is the first thing I said too. I was like, no way, rural Japan is this happening. However, I like it.
yeah, exactly. So like ama divers often wear like these cloths, white cloths to dive in, or like loincloths, or and topless sometimes. And I think even
Did you say
now
topless?
they still
Because it kind of sounded like tapas, and I just need to be sure.
Topless,
Wow.
yeah. But they're just ladies who work, and they're amazing divers, and they're incredibly good at what they do. And there's, it's kind of like a tradition, like a select, it's like a special thing to be, have the skill of an ama diver.
Wow.
So I love that they wrote this into the movie, but they didn't
They didn't really write it in. They
explore
wrote
it
in,
enough.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like really
Right.
vaguely. Oh,
If you didn't know,
Exactly.
you'd say, "Who are these women in the water?"
Yeah.
Just a bunch of sirens.
Totally.
who apparently have pig faces. Thanks a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah. So definitely they weren't wearing bikinis then, but visually for the screen it works, and it's a Bond thing. So
Yeah. The other thing about her look that I find really interesting, which also is a fake, is that her bangs are fake. And when you see the close-ups, especially when her hair is wet, you can see actually a color difference between the bangs in the front and the rest of her hair. And the texture is a little different. Like, I don't think they used real hair at the time on wigs, or at least not on bangs.
what's
It
that? Just to add to Asianness looking or something? Like, what
I
is
would
the
say
bangs?
the opposite. I would say because they're such shaggy long bangs, maybe
trying
they're to add to the whiteness. But it very strange.
That's
but
a
I
question for
assume-
my mom.
That is a good question for your mom. And I also assume that they probably cast her a good amount ahead of time. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I feel like she could have had time to grow bangs. But maybe not. Maybe I'm totally off.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah,
mean,
interesting.
didn't
or they
they
just
all
last
have
minute on
bangs?
set we're like, add bangs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone had bangs.
Yeah.
In this, and maybe it was just a trend of the time. Like, if you don't have bangs, you're ugly. The end. I'm just joking. But it sounded
Speaking
nice and
of
hard.
hair, tell me, what was the haircut that was all the rage back in your day,
Yes.
Linda?
Oh,
Well, let me say how it shows in the film. So in the beginning, when they're first in Japan, there's the first woman who talks into her purse. She has this short haircut with like little curlies on the bottom edge by like right where the hair meets the jawline, right below the ear, and she had very sharp across the front bangs that kind of fade into it, so it's like a perfect bob, like probably original bob. And I was like, oh my God, such a cute haircut. And my mom goes, there's your cue.
oh, that I had a haircut like that in 8th grade the same year.
And that it was a popular haircut. That was like a thing at the time.
It was chic.
That's so cute. That's exactly, when you said there's a haircut, I was like, that was the first image that came to my mind, because it's so like, yeah, because it stands out.
It
like,
does.
It doesn't, yeah, it looks trendy when you see it, you know?
It really does.
yeah,
Mom, can we put your picture up
I love
on our,
that. I know
on
exactly
our
who you're talking
Oh
Instagram?
my God. I don't know.
Your 8th grade picture? Your class picture. It's the only one I've seen the haircut in. We'll see. I'll try to convince her.
Sure.
Oh, it's a
I want
very
to know
cute
if
picture.
other listeners had this haircut.
Yes, or if your parents did that you know of. Both mom and dad. Only if both parents had it do we want to see. No, just kidding.
I remember going to the Panopolis salon. It was the first time my mother allowed me to get an expensive haircut.
Wow.
And that was it.
Panopolis?
Cute.
Is this a Grand Rapids thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nothing is easy to pronounce in Grand Rapids, apparently.
I have a question then about the haircut. Was there someone who kind of set the trend, or was it like, I want to look like X, celebrity or something like that? Or was it just, you just saw it everywhere and naturally just became trendy? What inspired you?
I think the hair cutter suggested it.
Haircutter. Oh, cute. Okay. Yeah. Then it just,
in
was the
that
trend.
era, I used to read 17 magazine. There was this magazine. It was the only one of its kind that I knew of. But they would have, this is the, hairstyle of the year or whatever. They would have hairstyles. And they had this thing of, well, if you have a round face, you should get this hairstyle. And if you have an oval face.
Oh, Mom, let me tell you, they still do that today.
Yeah, I know. I figure. But it was, here is the selling to these young, naive teenagers. Oh, my God, I probably should get this cut. If I don't, I'll be horrible. No one will,
I'll
everyone will
have the
hate
wrong
me.
cut for my face.
So, Yeah, it was a face size problem. Yeah.
Face size problem.
Oh, I bet it was so cute. I need to see the picture.
I know. Mom, do you think if you had seen that in theaters at the time, since you had that haircut, you would have walked around talking into your purse?
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I love it.
I love it too. Okay, should we do keep and kills?
Yes.
Or honorables?
Do you notice she's kind of baggy
wait.
here?
Yeah, my mom's trying to mention the bagginess of the swimsuit.
And that was the way
yeah.
of those bikinis in those days. She's probably got a zipper in the back, I'm guessing, because that was the way they did it. And because it wasn't stretchy, they were a little baggy here and there, which, at the time you didn't know any different. It was, this is the fashion. This is great. But
Mom, we have talked about this actually. Yeah, we've talked about different, in the earlier Bond movies, when they have bikinis or swimwear, how baggy and frankly just terrible. It looked very diaper-like. It looks.
Yeah.
And we justify it because we say exactly what you said. Like, they didn't have stretch fabrics then, so like they're doing what they can. But at the same time, to look back in hindsight, there's one in particular I have to show you. It's very diaper-like, and in this one diaper-like, Lou, which movie is it where she's got the two-tone red and purple?
Diamonds Are Forever. Jill St. John is wearing
Jill
the
St. John.
bikini that's red and purple.
Yeah. And in that movie, she takes something and hides it in her bikini bottom. So she's emphasizing the looseness of this diaper bottom. And it is so funny. But those bikinis were tied on the sides. And we're thinking for the low-cut bikinis.
This one does?
I don't know if this one does, but the one it's based after, Ursula Andress, has some kind of scrunching of ties on the sides that are somewhat hidden.
Something to hold it up.
So I'm thinking for the low rise, since a zipper would be more complicated, or and also just does it get tighter at the top? Where would you put the zipper? Then potentially it's some kind of tie system.
I don't know.
I know. It's fascinating.
Very fascinating. It is fascinating.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Sorry.
It was so sexy and radical at that time that no one even noticed the diaper.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm going to quote you on that.
Okay.
Okay, keeps and kills. Should we do the same? Lou, do you want to do your keep first?
Okay. My keep is going to be Aki's blue dress.
Yes, gorgeous.
I think it's just elegant and beautiful. Yeah.
I agree. And it really lasts the test of time. Did I say that right? It spans the test?
Yes.
Well, it sounds wrong in my head, but the dress still looks cute today.
Yeah. Yes.
Mama, what is yours?
Well, I wanted to keep the cat.
You can call the cat. The cat's your keep.
But if we're strictly talking clothes, I'd take the gold blouse.
Gold?
You know, that kind of
the orangey.
reddish orangey.
Yes,
or
mustard,
orangey gold color.
Yes. Of Helga.
Beautiful.
Helga's blouse.
That's a great choice.
That's a really good choice. And you know what? I can literally see you wearing that. It would fit into your closet.
I was going to say
perfectly.
that.
I would wear that.
That's a great choice for you. Cute. I love it.
My keep, which is I think very Alana, is Mrs. Brandt's flight suit.
Yes, you always.
I love it. That's perfect.
Jumpsuits.
Jumpsuit,
You
baby.
would look fabulous in that. I feel like each of our keeps represents us well.
Yeah, really. Yeah, totally.
Like,
because you
we
know,
would
the blue
wear
is
our
really
outfits.
You too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Cute.
Just for the record,
Okay,
everyone should know Elma is way classier than I am when it comes to fashion. I'm a little more odd and extreme, and she's a little more classy. And then in between, we both align on like
simple.
some like casual and hip hoppy vibes.
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
90s, 2000s stuff, we tend to align.
Oh, totally, yeah. Okay, my kill. I didn't send you a picture of this one, but I'm sure you'll remember. It's James Bond's ninja suit.
Oh,
His
the gray?
full. Yeah. And I don't know if that's even he's in that outfit for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, for a good amount of the action. It's a major on-screen look, and
Yeah.
it's very unattractive in my opinion.
Tell me why you don't like it so much, because I don't love it, but I'm a little surprised.
Okay. I think the color is a huge part. It's like a blue gray, like it's a in between. It doesn't look stealth enough to be like I'm sneaking around like a spy, like if it was all black or like a dark gray.
It's like frumpy.
Yeah, frumpy, and then it just looks like costumey kind of to me.
You're
like
right. Especially the way they introduce it with the suction cup legs and stuff that are just like, oh my god.
Yeah. Like it doesn't feel like I'm a cool spy. Like it's a little bit
the suction
goofy.
That whole suction moment does not feel like I'm a cool spy. It feels like I'm like a third grader who's trying to use like what were those like flippy things that were cool when pogs were cool?
Oh, that suction. Yes.
Teletubbies. Those suctiony things to try to climb down a wall, being like, I'm so cool, look at me.
Yep. Yeah.
But that was my runner-up good category because it was so funny looking. You can't look at those and not smile. You know, they just make you happy. It's like, oh my god, he got him to wear this. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, that's
I love
amazing.
That.
I love that because I was wondering when I watch these old movies and sometimes James Bond looks a little bit ridiculous. I'm like, did they think this looked cool back then though? But no, it sounds like you just thought they looked hilarious and it was entertaining.
Yeah, he sucked it up and got that thing on. Oh my god.
Right. I'm obsessed with
Cute.
this reaction.
That's a runner-up. Yeah, me too.
She's laughing so hard our cat just ran away. Wonderful.
I love this.
It was really
great.
Goofy looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a kill, Mom?
Okay.
Well, my kill was his haircut when he was supposed to be
Japanese.
Pretending to be Japanese. Oh my god.
That's
Every
a good
time
kill.
I looked
That's
at
a great
it,
kill.
I thought I wanted to throw up.
I was gonna say,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
My kill is also just him pretending to be Japanese. Like there was no outfit that came close to how annoying that felt to me.
Yeah. Oh god.
Please. Awesome. Good. Yes. Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah, now it's time to talk about the racist stuff.
The turning Japanese. Yes. Okay. Oh, here, let me start, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
I asked my mom,
Yeah.
what did you think, like, when you watched this? Like, how does it feel as, like, my mom is very Japanese. She has an accent. She's very much, like, she came to the States in 1990.
In, like, her 20s, right?
So,
Maybe
yeah, she's
20s. Late 20s, early 30s.
28. She was 28.
Okay,
Yeah,
20.
exactly, 28. So she's like, oh yeah, that was just unfortunate that happened. She's like, oh no, they didn't just do that. Like that was her reaction, and it was just, but like it's like more laughing at the ignorance of.
I love that about your mom too. I feel like we should say for the record, Elma's mom is first of all absolutely wonderful, and I'm obsessed with her. And every time I see her, I'm just like, Akiko, you are a shining star. I love her. She's so wonderful, and she's always happy. I love her, and she's so stylish. But she's also very like understanding and forgiving.
Name as the Bond
Kind.
girl.
Yeah, so kind, and she totally does have the same name as Bond girl, and not an understanding in a dismissive way, but understanding in like, it's like she's never bothered by the problem. She's always like, well, it is what it is. It's fine. It's fine. Moving on. Like she's so positive and lovely.
But that's okay. So I love that you brought that up because I was thinking about
her
this
daughter.
like how I should feel about the cultural insensitivity about this, because it's something that I grew up with and kind of just, it glazed over me, or I just watched it, or I just enjoyed when I was a kid, enjoyed the movie that like highlighted Japanese culture and like showcased things that, you wouldn't see or hear about if you weren't told how things like tea ceremonies or wearing kimonos or like fighting, learning how to kendo and judo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love that so much that a lot of the things just glaze over me, and to have, but obviously I look at it now and I'm like, okay, this is very messed up, and so like I don't want to use the word offensive because I don't think what they're trying to do, but it's so insensitive.
Yeah.
And but the way that I was raised, and a lot of I think what Japanese culture is like, you keep to yourself, you don't worry about what other people are saying about you or your culture or like whatever and especially if it just looks like they got it wrong and they're just it's making them look stupid. Like we're like, whatever, like don't be bothered by it. So a lot of that is where I'm coming from watching this movie, you know. It's like, don't let it bother. It's not like, for example, in Breakfast at Tiffany's, Mickey Rooney's like Mr. Yuniyoshi, her landlord, that is appalling to see, in my opinion, and that is very offensive. And this doesn't feel like that. Still, like they're celebrating a lot of the things, yes, but
it's true because there is celebration as well of the culture in this movie.
But you would no one would do that once you have like a real understanding of Japanese culture and like like just you'll become a Japanese person and you're gonna blend right in and you'll pass. Like, no, that's not really
so weird.
Yeah, that's a little demeaning.
It's so weird.
All you gotta do is cut your hair so that it's ugly. Like, that's not even a Japanese haircut. It just is ugly.
It's terrible. Yeah.
Why did they think they're like, if we give him Spock eyebrows, it'll make his eyes look more Asian? Chill, no problem. What? Also, I have a mom question. Was plastic surgery just starting at this time? Because they mentioned plastic surgery, and I feel like, when did plastic surgery start?
You know, it was not a common thing among,
no average people, I'm sure, but
person.
Like as a concept, were you aware of it?
But the only time you would hear about it would be in a spy novel where someone had to disguise his looks, and they would get a new face, and then they could be in the in the CIA and no one would know, or that kind of thing. It was more of a criminal thing.
Wow.
You you had to change your looks so that you could go underground or whatever.
Because in this movie, she specifically says this is a tool that plastic surgeons use to cut open skin. Like, she says it in a line. And I thought, is she saying that because we need to be told because people don't know about plastic surgery, or because people do know about plastic surgery?
No, but of course it existed for things like burns or, repairs.
Facial reconstruction.
And like, 1950s celebrities that need to be prettier. Yeah. No, this is a joke. No,
I didn't
laugh.
know anything about that, but
no, I remember specifically Rita Hayworth, because Rita Hayworth is actually Hispanic, and she had to get a bunch of plastic surgery before, all the top producers at the time were willing to put her on camera. They're like, "You're so talented, you're wonderful, but you need to look less Hispanic." Right. They changed her hairline.
That's messed up.
And they changed, I believe, her nose and of course her eyebrows, but I don't think that was plastic surgery. I think it was just the form they plucked them in. You can see, if you dig hard, I think there are before and after pictures. I hope I'm not saying the wrong celebrity name. I'm pretty sure it's Rita Hayworth, because I'm a big fan of hers because of how good of a dancer she is. But she does not look Hispanic to me. I never realized that. I think she's Mexican or something. I might be getting that wrong. But she's some kind of Hispanic, and she had to go under the knife to become herself. So I knew it existed.
Wow.
At least early 60s, if not 50s, for celebrities, but definitely Hush Hush.
Yeah, Hush Hush.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Well, he looks like a stupid idiot pretending to be Japanese.
So,
not into it. Oh, so nice. And
but here's another thread, still coming out of World War II. There were a lot of white men who wanted to feel superior to the Japanese. And so
true.
There was this just little bit of insecurity, but of course we have to show a little bit of superiority here. And I think that thread came through in that
You're right,
way.
and that's why you can sense it in the film. Like, that's the part that feels gross to me. This little piece of superiority that keeps shining through. Like, when he has his American counterpart in these Bond films, he's not treating him like he's... that's not an example, because the American counterpart's always an idiot.
Doofus.
He is a doofus. So maybe I'm quoting wrong there, but you do see that.
No, that's... And Alana, you're going to read the book soon, right?
Yes.
You see a lot of that in the book. And the thing is, I think it comes from interactions that... but it's a lot of both sides of one-upmanship, you know, like the Japanese were also trying to show and express that they're tough, strong people, and
of course,
how they're so it was just from both sides, and it's interesting. I think you'll see that in the book, but exactly the demeaning or needing to stand a little bit higher than the Asian actor, you know, the Asian counterparts in this, for example.
It's that masculine competitiveness that was like really big in politics at the time. I mean, competition in politics is always going to exist, but competing between countries like that so specifically and so hard, like anybody who's not in your nationality with the pride you have for your nation is like someone to compete with. Like, that was really more just how things were, I think, at the time. Now the competition is certainly much more between like subjects, topics, beliefs, whatever. More so than strictly between nationalities.
But what I loved was this smart Aki saved his butt, saved Bond's butt. And,
so many times.
And she was smart. She was beautiful. She was really cool. She, you know, I loved that. And the other one that I don't remember the name, the white bikini lady, also was very instrumental in
Kissy, her name.
having a successful ending.
Yeah.
So, even though the women
were put
are
down
a little bit of sex objects, still they can be smart and clever and save the day. And
you can see it as a bit of a rebellion. Like, even if you want to just see me as that, look at all that I am.
I do love the thing is, I love Aki so much in this movie that I hate how they killed her. Like, I wish she was the one that ended up, right? I wish she was the one in the lifeboat at the end with him.
You know, Bond also wanted that, in case you couldn't tell from earlier in the movie, when he's like, I need to marry this woman. And she's like, She just does a loud breath in response. I'll send you the clip. I had to film the screen. It was so funny.
Okay. We got through. Oh, we didn't talk about honorable mentions, though. Are there some looks that we didn't get to talk about that you liked still?
Well, I like the pink dress that Aki had on.
That was
also
pretty.
very pretty,
Gorgeous,
classic. Anytime. I mean, you could wear that any era, anytime. Pretty classy. Beautiful.
It looks like double layer, or it's like a dress with another skirt under it. There's something interesting about the hem.
It's totally, there's something about the bottom of that dress.
For me, it's more about the color than the cut, though. I like the color on her is gorgeous.
Yes,
they love that pink in this movie.
Yes, and that's a very Jackie O pink. It must have been, you know,
just very classy, beautiful.
Like, if I had to pick a color, if I was gonna just draw a picture of Jackie O in color, I would put her in that color dress with a pillbox hat.
Oh, cute!
I feel like that's the dress color I see.
Navy blue.
Well, there you go.
Reason, and like white contrast.
Yep, I can see that too.
One of my honorable mentions, we mentioned it briefly. Helga's brown sequin dress.
Yes,
the full sequin.
Yes. Right. Magnificent.
Yes, this is. I didn't love chocolate brown for a long time, but this makes me like brown again. That dress, I like it. Yeah, that was stunning. And a little shout out to Moneypenny for her kind of like navy uniform. I
love that she's wearing something different that isn't
cute.
bad. No offense, Moneypenny, but like, this is a win for her.
That isn't bad. Yeah,
she has such cute. It feels like she has such a great personality, except for the fact that she's so, to her own detriment, obsessed with James Bond in an unbelievable way. Like, when I mean literally not believable. Outside of that, she seems to have such a fun personality and interesting. Like, if I had to pick someone, she'd be the one I want to be my girlfriend. Like I'm straight, but like someone who I'd want to be friends with outside of this. The girl I want to hang out with and talk with. It would be her if she didn't have that weird Bond thing going on. that doesn't, because I
Yeah.
don't believe it. It doesn't make sense to me because it feels like it just constantly contradicts. I don't know. I don't get it. She seems to be so confident, but then she's like shitting on herself all the time with the way she talks about Bond. So it doesn't vibe to me. But like they also dress her often in the worst looks. I'm so glad. Even just this navy dress is like a cute thing for her to be wearing.
Yes, and her hair looks great. Like her hair has gotten bad later. This is still when it looks great. I love it.
Yes.
But you're so right. She's like seems chill but sweet and friendly and
intelligent.
Fun. Like she,
and clever. Like she would
always
have
holding
cute
her
quips
clever.
to say. Yeah.
And
she would
also
keep a
covers
secret.
Bond's back when exactly.
She's loyal. She keeps secrets for sure.
Loyal. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, she should be the best friend.
Yeah, I picture her kind of like an Aries. if anyone's into horoscope stuff, I feel like she's like an Aries, which makes me so confused as to why she stays subservient to Bond. I almost wish they made the storyline like she's playfully saying that to Bond, like she's playing with the like maybe when she first met him, she asks him out and he turns her down. And then if she just is playing with that throughout the rest of the series, where she's just like, "Are you sure you don't want to go out with me?" And he's like, "No, money penny." Like if it was a joke that they were both in on, kind of like I would totally get it.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's honestly just like, ugh, like I don't get it. I don't buy it.
I know. Yeah. I agree with you. Like how devastated she was on Her Majesty's, like crying at James Bond's wedding. Yeah. Come on.
And the actress always plays it a little animated, I think, because there isn't a way to play that seriously. It just doesn't make sense seriously. Yeah. You got to kind of be a joke.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts, Mom?
You know, I don't remember enough comparative Moneypenny to
I know,
have
I was
a comment
say it was
on
short
that.
in this movie.
But,
Perfect.
but it does seem that they want Bond to appear to just melt women's hearts at first sight, and they would do anything for him, and such is the power of a real man, and
yeah, exactly.
Quote unquote.
You know, they really promoted this. You know, I think they probably made a lot of men crazy, thinking that
I thought you were going to say
made
men cry.
that this was a real thing that they should be able to achieve, that really was never going to happen in real life. It's not real. This is part of the Bond cartoon. you know?
That's funny, because when you think about like these male figures to sort of look up to, or like the ideal or whatever, you know, like I guess James Bond at this time kind of was that ideal. And I mean, some might say even now, I don't know really, but
I think he's
in
meant
the 90s,
to be the
it was
ideal,
like,
whether or not he actually
yes.
is. He's supposed to be.
Yeah. And then in then it shifts through the like I'm just talking about when we were growing up, because I was talking to Ricky about this recently, how like these unrealistic like body types for men of the bodybuilder type was like what, you know, kids when we were growing up was like the in action movies what you saw. So that there's this like, that's just, you know, the unrealistic expectations of what ideal looks like.
Interesting how in the
James
90s
Bond was early,
or in the 80s this like male ideal suddenly becomes
macho.
bulging in muscles. He's like could not be stronger. It comes very physical and financial. I think in the 80s it really the money he can
the
bring
money
in
power
becomes
for sure
even bigger of a deal.
Earlier it seemed like Connery's era seemed like the charm and the wit and like how well you can talk and carry yourself,
and it just literally there's no explanation. It's just you walk into a room and every woman wants you, and it's just like being the male ideal is just something you're born with. Like it's not describable in the 60s.
It's not describable. Yeah, because there's no reason.
Because there's no reason.
Every single woman. Yeah.
Like, does he have some kind of weird toxic pheromone that just does this? I don't know.
Exactly.
It's not a thing that makes any sense. Yeah.
Quite possible.
I think it probably really messed with a lot of young men who saw
I'm sure
this.
it did. I think we can look historically and see that it did. This is what we mean when we say toxic masculinity is things like this.
Yeah. So, speaking of toxic masculinity,
Well,
do you want to talk about other
I just have
parts of this
I
movie?
feel like what I said in the beginning, I'm trying to keep it concise because I could talk for days about this. It's hard to
Tell
find
me
a
your
scene that
points,
isn't quite sexist, and there are some that are just to such an extreme that I can't.
Okay, so
To
let's
me.
talk about the bath.
Oh, you want to hear
the
them?
bath
Okay.
scene? Yeah.
Oh, the bath. I wasn't even considering the bathhouse scene. I was just like, it's
Okay.
just stupid. It's so bad. It's stupid. I think. What really bothered me about it, though, especially in this film where they're in Japan and we have all this Asian culture going on as well and literal Japanese women, it felt like I kind of felt like the reason this movie felt more sexist than some of the other Bond movies, I could be wrong, but it felt like it's maybe because they're mostly Asian women, and the perspective was that you can be more like of a masculine asshole to subservient Asian women, and that's what they like, and that's their role, and they're meant to be made to feel like less and to wait on you and all this. And I mean, they literally say that in this movie, so I'm not making all of it up in my mind, but I felt like that's why this movie felt more sexist than prior movies, and that's why the sexism was like a part of the storyline throughout almost. It's what it seemed like. And some of these moments were so extreme that they made me disgusted at how these women were treated, and especially for women who are, just because they're Asian, making them even more demeaning them because of that. Like, it's her job, it's what she likes to do, but not in a literal way. It's her job to be demeaned, you know?
No, yeah.
So I felt those ways.
So the stereotype, the trope, the stereotype of the subservient Asian woman,
that's a problem.
Let's say
stereotype, big time.
Yes, but the thing is, like growing up, you do, the men come second thing is definitely the way that it works in Japan, and you see that, and it's
that's true.
but it's not meant in like to put down the woman. It's just that the respect for the man is there, right? So
yeah, but it's kind of it's similar to like in some more strict, like in Syria, where women are completely covering themselves up and don't have the option to not cover themselves up. I hope I'm saying the right country. It's like, yes, if you asked a woman who was content in Syria about wearing all of that and she was able to speak, and she'd probably say, oh yes, we do it to respect men and we do it to respect ourselves and it's a positive and all this stuff. But then at the same time, and that's great if someone isn't bothered by it, but when you zoom out and get more perspectives, or maybe get the perspectives of women who are able to leave that country when they want to, it's like something that is so baked in from such a young age that although it might be in the culture, it really is also demeaning to that type, in this case, women.
Yes. So what I was trying to say with this is that,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I think that like you clearly, if you like to serve, whatever, it's part of the culture, this is the way it is, but the way that they're showing it, in the movie,
for
is
sure.
like you say, it's the demeaning. Like there is this thing of serving, and how like it's showing that women are capable to an extent, like capable of all your cat. Yes, the cat wants to chime in on this conversation. And then but it's exactly it. It's when you put it, I hate to say this, like putting the white man dropping him into the Asian culture, how they want to show like the service-iness, it comes off wrong.
Exactly.
But within the culture, it's like, this is just the way the culture is. And
well, I think hopefully within the culture, it's like women give respect in this way, but men give respect in this way.
Exactly.
As opposed to in this movie, it's like that women give respect in this way, so fucking take advantage, dude. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like women are just here to serve. Like they definitely, like a lot of like geisha culture, or like if you talk about like more just coming from ancient cultures of Japan, a lot of it is just being good at service, like that is something to be proud of. Like I'm able to, it's like being a good hostess, like you're able to take care, so that there's that aspect, but they don't focus on
Certainly
that
not.
like in the movie.
It
And
looks
yes,
like
it comes off
they
as
went.
demeaning.
It looks like Fleming went to Japan, misunderstood the culture, completely did not understand the culture, and brought back this totally racist version, which I think is what happens a lot in the 1960s, 1950s, when people are first, when a country is first understanding a different culture. Like a lot of people watching this movie are understanding Japanese culture for the first time, but it's being translated by like 10 different layers of people's absolute racist perspectives and competitive country perspectives and misogyny, and then it's just like, but this is how it is, and then everybody agrees because we all watched the same movie, and that's how we all got the perspective of it, and it repeats itself in culture, and then nobody's listening to the one Japanese person who just came over from Japan that they just met, who is maybe trying to express that that's not exactly right.
It's very surface level. Like, yes, like Japanese people are known to be great at service, but that's across the board, not just women. It's just a very surface. They take pick and choose. They take the parts that they want. They're like, oh well, Japanese women will do anything and they're loyal and all this. Like they take those fantasy parts that they want to keep and then don't show the full color.
Yeah, there's no
that's the
backbone
danger.
to it.
Yeah,
what holds it up? What the reason?
That's the perfect word, Alma. Fantasy. This James Bond is a fantasy. And so they turned it into what they think the fantasy of these people who want to watch this film, what they want.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the unfortunate part is it influences the whole culture. It's not people don't see it and think, yes, a fantasy. I would like to indulge.
The responsibility of the putting content out and things like that is where that comes in. And then talking about the fantasy part, when I was talking to my mom about this, she was saying how she thought the wedding ceremony was hilarious. She's like, that's so like blowing out of proportion a little bit, like what like maybe in some ancient Japanese culture weddings might have taken place like this, but not in the 60s when things were modernizing and stuff. She's like, maybe they were trying to get laughs. It was just really funny how the whole ceremony of it, and it's so long and like part of the movie. So,
and that's really interesting too. Like the one time they try to plug in some actual cultural stuff that's meant to be respected, it's like completely wrong. It appears as a joke to people from the culture. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we whenever we remember to, we try to rate the movies as a pass or fail when it comes to being racist and sexist representation. Yeah. I think this movie gets a hard fail from me.
Agreed.
But I think, clearly content was different at the time. We know differently now. Like it's just the conversation we had just now about this James Bond being a fantasy or not and how it's perceived by its audience members. Like that's just art evolving. People did not take content as seriously at the time. We take it more seriously now, so we're looking back with more serious eyes. There are just so many layers to this, to how all of these things have evolved. And clearly it's affected the culture in a bad way, but all of Japanese female shit isn't from James Bond, like this is still just one piece, but we're just using it as an opportunity. We don't hate on these James Bond movies. To reiterate what we always say, we don't hate on the film, but we have to acknowledge the things that are wrong, because that's a part of growth and moving forward. Like a very fun film, but there are parts of it that are totally fucked up, and that's fine to acknowledge.
Yeah. No, I imagine for sure this one is fail.
Yeah,
definitely this fails.
I was imagining that the movie company hired a cultural expert from Japan for this wedding, and they just laughed themselves to death. Let's give him this. All the Japanese people are love this one. This is good.
That's funny.
Oh yes, this is a very serious ceremony. Yes, we all do this ceremony. Ha ha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I wish they had like Japanese text written in somewhere that someone could have made a joke with like that.
Oh, that would have been funny.
That would have been very funny. Okay, well, we've talked through that quite a bit. I mean, there were a few moments, if we want to talk specifics. The scene, I don't, in a just sexist way, the scene where James Bond, when he's talking about his little baby helicopter thing and he calls her little Nellie. In the beginning, it's so cute. The way he's like, tell this person about little Nellie. Da, da, da. It's like, okay, clearly it's going to be a thing, not a person. It's cute. Let's see what that is. It sounds to me like a little girl is being delivered. Although when I think of it in hindsight, I'm like, did he mean it to sound like a woman? And they just always call women like little Nellie. Like, okay. Regardless, little Nellie, the scene happens, but there's all this like double meaning conversation about little Nellie when he's in her, especially once he's like killed all the other helicopters that came after him. There were lines, this line really pissed me off. He said that she defended her honor with great success. And it just reminded me of how being a good woman was not allowing someone to rape you. And I'm like, that is so fucked up. My blood is boiling. And they suggest that throughout this film because it's a misogynistic perspective. Like, that's this movie we've already talked about. It has a lot of sexism in it. So it is what it is. But the thing is, like, little lines like that, those lines are subtle. And when someone who isn't, like, let's say 33 and really into psychology, like myself, who when I hear that line, I laugh it off easily. When someone who allows that into their subconscious, like, even let's say a 14-year-old, not that you saw it at 14.
I think that's why I wasn't allowed to go.
Probably, but like even just lines like that, it's written as though it's a positive. She defended her honor with great success. It's not something that you think, oh, I don't want my child to hear that, or I don't want my influenceable daughter to hear that. Even if she's like in her 20s, she's still very influenceable. But lines like that, like, fuck you up.
Yeah,
they fuck up men and women and just society in general to think this is the value of a woman, and it's a woman's job to fight off. And of course, I'm using an extreme when I say rape, but like in any situation, a woman's job is to like constantly not to avoid all the advances that men are going to give you. Yeah, and that your men are just going to be, if you're a good woman, you'll be beautiful enough that men will constantly be advancing towards you. And you just need to be constantly on guard, like knife out, ready to stab back and put your shield up and do everything you can to defeat these predators so that you stay pure and perfect. And all of it is about the man, directed toward the man. None of it is about the woman or her goals, wants, ideals. Like, and it's the structure of it. What's so funny about it is it's literally the opposite of like a princess movie where like a woman is such a damsel that a man has to save her. The way it's described in culture, it's like, no, a woman needs to be constantly fighting men and winning in order to be a proper woman. Like, I would love them to do a Disney style princess movie where the woman is fighting off men constantly and she either is successful or whatever, and then, you know, just to visually showcase this, although I still think it's really a fucked up thing. So obviously the end of that movie would be her being like, you know what, the construct of what I'm doing is ridiculous, which would be wonderful. But
it's fucked up.
It's just little moments like that, and this line was such a perfect summation of that are like, that really bother me, because I know how many millions of parents even saw this in their childhood, had those things come into their subconscious, and obviously not only through a James Bond movie, but through all of culture. And then they ended up raising their kids differently. They were extra misogynistic towards them. They were extra sexist, basically, toward their daughters. Like, this it's a whole thing that, I mean, I think now at this point, at 2022, we can look back and see how we really have, the majority of society has been evolving in that way. But it's something that's worth pointing out in the categories.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean, I know you saw it when you were so young. I'm sure you didn't register it in those ways.
Totally did not. But it is a trickle-down effect, all of what you're saying. Like, it's those subtle things in these subconsciouses, sure, but like the one that bothered me was when he and Bond are Bond and Aki are sitting with a tiger, and he had just slept with Helga Brandt, and she says, "You wouldn't touch that horrible woman, would you?" And he's like, "Of course not," and like brushes her off, like she's so dumb, and like, I don't know, like the attitude of,
and he's like literally
that interaction.
He's just being such an asshole.
Yeah, such an asshole. The smirk and everything. And yeah, like I think men could have been like, that's like a funny way to like brush off this
exactly
woman, and that's fucked up. Yeah,
you're a hot guy, you're a hot charming guy if you sleep with a woman and then you don't give a shit about her immediately after.
Yeah,
not true, not cool. And like we've mentioned before on this podcast, it's not that you have to not have those situations come up in a film, but whoever is your hero, whoever is being identified with in the audience, it's the way that they react to the situation that you're projecting is the right way or the cool way to react. So if you have our hero Bond reacting to that question in like I don't give a shit about that stupid girl that I just totally slept with and blah blah, like that's saying something. That is an impression you are giving to young and not young men and women. Yeah. It's just worth pointing out. Absolutely. When we cover a movie like this, I think it's like our social responsibility to point out that some of these things are things that should not be condoned, and that hopefully have evolved and will continue to evolve. Do you have thoughts, Mom? Millennial speak.
You know, of course there are those minutes and they make you cringe. But I think looking at an older movie like this, you just have to enjoy the fun of it. You know, you just have to get back to the fun of it and go, wow, nice we aren't having films like that anymore. We don't put those kind of lines in our films.
Totally.
And we're not encouraging that perspective. And and how nice that we've made some progress in that department. And so, I'm enjoying the scenery. I'm enjoying the pretty dresses and the kimonos.
The gadgets.
And the gray Teletubby outfit with the hood. Those are hilarious.
So funny.
A whole army of those. Oh my God, those are the best.
Yeah, exactly. The whole army.
So I'm looking at it more, I'm getting the cartoon of it.
Yeah. But I think that also says a lot to you. You have had how many years? This isn't new to you, and you've learned to make it a cartoon. You've heard this so many times that in order to feel like, I'm saying this in a general way, but I assume it applies to you, in order to feel like you are allowed autonomy and to do what you want and to be okay as a woman and to be individual and someone who deserves respect and all this, you kind of have to see all that as a cartoon and just brush it off when it comes into your space, So I'm sure that's a natural habit you've gained, especially as a wonderful independent woman, runs her own business, single mother, raised me wonderfully. Very deserving, lovely
so
mother.
Wonderfully.
Well, I mean, I would say that men in any kind of power, I had an internship at the state capitol, and I had, I worked on Wall Street, I worked at the UN, I did it. I saw men who had some degree of power, and in general,
and this is the 80s mostly.
They
70s,
were
80s.
constantly trying to seduce any woman they could get their hands on.
Really?
That was a thing.
Exactly like the movies. Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly like the
shamelessly.
Movies, yes.
No big deal. Shamelessly, of course.
Yeah. Wow. That's one of those things you watch those movies and you look back and you watch them and you're like, it must not have been that bad. Well,
no, that was, Bond himself is kind of a cartoon, a pinnacle of that. But oh no, men in power really thought that was their entitlement and at least tried hard to be in those roles and succeeded many times because, a woman really did not have a lot of access to climbing any kind of ladders without looking pretty and pleasing the boss.
Well, yeah.
So it was a real thing.
Yeah.
Well, so to go back to what you were saying before, I think, this is why we acknowledge how wonderful things are now. We look at the past and how we've evolved from it to appreciate where we are and to appreciate where we're going to even go from here, which I'm sure will be even more respectful, even though there's always ups and downs.
Yes.
Love that. The positive part, the positive spin at the end is what I love. I don't love the other part.
Exactly. That we've grown.
Yes, we've
Culture
grown.
has moved. Yes.
And before we end the pod, I gotta say some funny moments. One, when he was showing off the ninjas, like, look at all these ninjas I have. I got a ninja camp full of cool ninjas, which was the whole thing was so fun. So
It was good.
it was so good. I loved it.
Yes, I love it.
I loved it obsessively. And then suddenly he goes and he said some line like, and now they're up to date. And then suddenly the camera pans and there's all these ninjas with guns and they're holding the weird too. They're just like, they look like they're walking around like cartoon beings with like, I don't know, but it was just hysterical to me to see all these ninjas. And then especially because they're doing all this incredible like fighting and it turns to them with guns and they look like the cartoon
Robots.
music should have played. Yeah, they suddenly look like these weird
They
cartoon
were two
people.
identical, holding their guns exactly the same.
And it looked like, how is this
so
the more
funny.
powerful thing they've evolved into? No way. This is them suddenly being disarmed. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, like they look so badass before, and then
Yeah. And it just comes
now
over
we're
and
here
now
with
they're like,
guns. We don't.
all right,
Yeah.
well, they were cool for a minute.
That's funny.
I love
Yes,
that.
it is quite goofy. A lot of moments in this, like the
Love
other
it.
goofy is the helmet that he's wearing when he's driving Little Nelly. Like,
Yes.
just the look is very it's hilarious. It's cute.
So many goofies.
One piece of trivia.
Ooh, trivia.
Astronaut
Since
Also, my
shout out.
mom has to say the astronaut suit. Because we were talking as we watched, the astronaut
Yes.
suit is just like, what was it, like nylon?
Yeah,
It was
very
some kind of
thin,
like super
cheap
flammable, thin,
fabric.
cheap.
Oh,
like some Halloween costume material.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Lou, what were
Yeah,
you saying?
so first of all, shout out to Hawaii. I think this is like one of the only times he mentions Hawaii or there's any moment in Hawaii. And then on top of that, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, his grandpa is in this movie
No
Oh my God.
as the guy that is fighting Bond in the Osato's office, like throwing the couch and like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that
so
big
he
guy that
comes
looks like
from a
a
series
kind of a
of
wrestler
Camera fighter people.
fighting. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's all.
Slamming people through shoji screens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know in that same office there was that like metal thing that would come down over the doorway where you come in and out, but right next to it there's what looks like basically like a larger paneled shoji screen, and I kept thinking like, but that's a freaking shoji screen, like you can totally knock through that. Why is this thing having metal panels? Like that's not gonna stop shit.
I know, it's like trying to blend the Asian aesthetic, and then so funny.
It's like, what do
and
they
also
want
the
us to
moment
believe?
the camera moving following him like in
Wait,
the
which
office.
moment?
In that same spot. So it's he arrives to the office for the first time and then Mr. Osato and Helga Brandt comes through. They just arrived from the helicopter, and while he's waiting, there's just a camera moving around making all the noise so loudly, following him and stuff.
Where the guy is doing it by the keys on his like typewriter,
Yeah.
where it's like
Exactly.
like the loudest, and then he stops
So
walking
funny.
and the sound stops. He starts walking, it's like like come on.
Comical. Yeah.
Comically obvious. I have one last comment, and it's kind of separate from the movie, but this movie inspired me specifically in the scene where all the ninja guys are coming in and all the worker guys are fighting them. There's just like this huge fight scene. Oh, first of all, we should acknowledge that the interior of that layer is a real set that they built.
Yes. Beautiful set
Insane.
design, this movie. Yes, I know, right? I was thinking that too.
It's Ken
Shout
Adams
out to
again,
Ken
isn't it?
Adams.
Right,
Yes,
Ken
exactly.
Adams.
This is
Wonderful.
like some of his best work, I think. It's beautiful.
I agree. It's wonderful. But in that scene, because they had all the people, like dying and they'd fall and do like a backflip or whatever, I just thought to myself, oh my God, do you know what I want more than anything? I want there to be a Cirque du Soleil action movie Cirque du Soleil, or like James Bond Cirque du Soleil.
amazing.
It would be
Brilliant.
incredible.
Okay.
It would be killer, and it could be all 60s looking, and it could have like the like cool sets of like the rockiness and the volcano in it, like the water. There's water stuff in Bond. Oh my god, it could be incredible.
It's amazing. Oh my god.
Doesn't it
Mic
sounds
drop.
so good?
That
I'm
would
like
be
a
perfect.
little angry that it doesn't yet exist.
I know.
It sounds
I'm like,
so
this
good.
is
I'm
why
ready
you
to
need
write
to be in the
emails.
room.
Yeah, I'm like,
Alana.
I might have to just like tweet them this every day until they make one. I'm like, take my money. I need to see this.
I'm so in. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Oh, so
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, perfect bombshell to end on.
Very much. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you like this movie. Clearly, there's some good, there's some bad, and we would love to hear what you think about it. We don't want to put too much damper on it. Like, if you only thought this movie was fantastic, great. No issue.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Or if there were other issues, let us know.
Or if there are other
Yeah.
all of the
Then
above.
let's discuss all
Open
of it.
conversation, full of
Yeah.
love and respect. That's what we're about.
Exactly.
So if you want to,
Discussion.
yes, exactly. If you want to discuss with us, reach out to us on our Instagram at DressedToKillPod, where you will also see the pictures of our outfit pics, or you can tweet at us at DTKPOD. And we hope you have a wonderful week, and we love you so much. Oh, and happy birthday again to Mama.
Yes. Happy birthday. Thank you so much for joining us. This was so insightful, actually, and fun to hear about your
cat says happy birthday to you.
categories.
I think he's hungry. He keeps coming back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Mama.
Thank you for letting me join in, and thank you for I love all these honest comments, and this is not the kind of conversation that would have gone on in 1967, even between good girlfriends.
Yeah.
These kinds of insights, and so yeah, thank you for being modern, wonderful, wise, insightful women.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. That's
The sweetest.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Amazing. Yes. Love you guys.